Kulinski had a viral tweet where he highlighted clips from the Joe Rogan podcast where Joe was saying many progressive, leftist, and liberal things. He tweeted, Rogan went from saying stuff like this to endorsing a corrupt billionaire authoritarian conman war.
Tim Pool absolutely roast crazy unhinged leftist Kyle Kulinski. Kulinski, like many other leftists, are not having a good time since the 2024 election, and it continues to show. Let's see what Tim Pool has to say.
Monger who stands against virtually every policy he claimed to believe in. And he does this as sort of a way to impugn the honor and integrity of Joe Rogan. But Joe Rogan was actually always more of a middle-of-the-road guy. And if you watch his show at any point ever, yeah, he's fairly middle-of-the-road guy, and he leaned towards Bernie and Tulsi and was kind of progressive. He was a big fan of universal basic income. Instead of asking why it is that Dave Rubin, a long time ago, Tim Pool, several years ago, Joe Rogan, Anna Kasparian, Colin Wright, Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr. Man, the list goes on. Instead of any one of these people asking themselves why it is that the left has lost so many people, they play stupid games where they just seek to insult and belittle. Kyle Kulinski is a great example of this. He is currently getting roasted for being an obedient, authoritarian lapdog. And that's what we see. Now, for me, look, I don't know. I talk about what I think is true. I get a lot wrong because knowledge is limited and we do our best. I try to understand situations. I try to give you the facts. And I'll give you my opinions, of course. This is an opinion show. What do we see in the corporate press and what do we see from the left? Consistently and always, it is some kind of manipulation or lie about what's really going on. Instead of telling you the truth and then giving you logic behind it, they say outright, misrepresentation, lie, or otherwise. In fact, I'll give a shout out to Sam Cedar. This guy from the Majority Report comes on the show, the Culture War podcast, Friday mornings, and literally goes on an unhinged rant claiming that I hold the position I don't hold, and I know exactly what he's doing. He is making a fake clip for the purpose of getting attention. After he's done with his angry rant, he goes, that's the clip I was trying to get. It's fake. Now, at least this guy, he knows what he's doing. For people like Kyle Kulinski, it's all just, lack of ability to think critically. Here's where Joe Rogan is. Joe Rogan is a guy who wants to know what's true. And so he's sitting there, doesn't read the news as heavily as many people, but probably more than the average person. He's looking things up on his show to see if it's true or not. And I'll give you an example of where I think Joe goes wrong. See, me, I'm more of sometimes I think I'm pretty dang sure of things. People get mad at me when I argue and say, no, this I'm right about. Not everybody does. And sometimes I say, well, I'll take your word for it. Just the other night, we're talking with Dudley Brown. And I said that quote from Donald Trump where he said, take the guns first and then go through the courts second. That was out of context. He says, no, I had people in the room. I know that quote he said. I said, well, I'll take your word for it. Why? Because maybe I'm wrong. So I looked it up. I was wrong. And see, that's the game I'm willing to play. I had read an article. There was a video from NBC that showed only a short clip. And I said, wait a minute, he's referencing something else. Then I saw the full clip, went back and checked it. He told me I was wrong. I said, okay, I'm wrong. Sometimes.
Yeah, and that's always a good thing to do. Listen, we're all flawed human beings. Nobody knows everything. No one is right 100% of the time. So it's always good to stay humble and the best thing that you can know is that you know nothing. And I try to hold that position. I try to always, if I don't know something for sure to be true, then I say, okay, I'll take your word for it. Joe Rogan and Tim Pool seem like they do the same thing as well. But these lefties, though, especially what Tim Pool brought up and how the leftist media are, it's not even just that they bring up a point and then they just try to argue their arguments. They'll bring up a point and they force you to believe it. And they'll manipulate you into believing it by saying, and if you don't believe us, well, then you're this. If you don't believe us, then you're a conspiracy theorist. If you don't believe us, then you're a bigot. If you don't believe us, you're a racist. If you don't believe us, then this. They were successful at doing that for many years, but now I think their time is coming to an end, and I'm obviously all for it. What do you guys think about that? Sound off in the comment section below. Give this video a click if you like content like this. Let's continue.
I'm pretty dang sure I'm right, and I'll argue it. Sometimes I won't. I go on Joe Rogan's show. I made the point on his show that more than half the country had permitless carry, was constitutional carry. He says, that can't be true. That's wrong. Jamie, pull it up. What ends up happening is Jamie pulls up a search, and it said something like 13 states of constitutional carry. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, I guess I was wrong. Maybe it meant landmass or something. I don't know. I must be wrong. See, that's actually where I must take fault, not for being wrong. I was actually correct. The issue was I wasn't confident enough in my position because I'm not someone who, if I don't recall and know the exact detail and the fact, I'd be willing to accept a fact check. Here's the issue I see with Joe and these viral clips is that he does a quick Google search and checks and goes, yeah, you're wrong about that. It turns out, and this is several years ago, I was right. So there were 25 states, I believe, that were constitutional carry with one. Florida, it's open, I think permitless concealed carry, but not open carry, which is, not complete constitutional carry. Joe does try to know the truth. He does fact check more than most people, but a cursory search led him to the wrong conclusion. And I should have been a bit more confident in my assertion, but I wasn't. This is why you see these viral clips where Joe says things or whatever. Now, what ends up happening later on is the media is spiraling out of control. Kyle Kulinski himself is spiraling out of control. His tweets are becoming unhinged, and I'll give you an example. Let me see if I can, where do we have this? Do I not have that poster? Oh, here we go. Kyle Kulinski posts this. It's emotional. It's a picture of Trump that's been photoshopped to make him look just miserably awful. Let me tell you the difference between Kyle Kulinski and me. Here's my picture of Joe Biden. I said, never forget what they took from us. And it's an AI-generated, ultra-ripped Joe Biden. It's the inversion. Yes, I made a fake picture of Joe Biden. The humor is I made him look as good as I could. This is me laughing along, not angrily insulting Joe Biden. The humor here is that Joe Biden's an old man. I'm not trying to mock him, sort of. I'm making a funny play on him being ultra ripped. This is what Kyle Kulinski does. But let me tell you where the left currently is. Kyle has this post and he says, average Joe Rogan enjoyer. It's kind of wild that he went from being this rational guy to this unhinged, overly emotional, mental breakdown kind of guy. Scientists, and it says, yes, there's a guy, it says, a man who saw a YouTube video, yes, you are all wrong. Average Joe Rogan enjoyer. It's kind of wild, Kyle. Hasn't Kyle gone on Rogan's show? Isn't he friends with Joe? I'm pretty sure Joe's referred to them as friends in shows past. Maybe I'm wrong. But why is Kyle so angry and so unhinged? The responses are great. Ian Miles Chong highlighting, and I called him out for this too, a post from Kyle Kulinski where he says, this is the land by Colorado, Kansas border from a plane. Pretty cool. I have no idea how or why it looks like this. And everyone's like, my dude, those are farms. He didn't know that. That's crazy. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, yeah. No, it's completely crazy. And these people they're all having meltdowns over what's going on. They realize that they're on the wrong side. And so they're just having meltdowns. And the whole, that Photoshop picture of Donald Trump, that's what the left always does. They always have to put up these, even in their comments, they always have to make Trump or whoever they're poking fun at look as ugly as possible, just horrific. It shows you how they view us and how they view Donald Trump and their political opponents. They just view them in the lowest way possible. And it's not about poking humor. It's not about making just political commentary. It's about just downright trying to display them in the worst way possible. And that's what that Donald Trump picture was. That's just what they do. But what are your guys' thoughts on that? Sound off in the comment section below. If you want to see more of Tim Pool owning people, I got a whole playlist for you in the right-hand corner. And I have a whole bunch of goodies for you on the screen right now.